Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Brian. Today in the driveway we have a, I guess you would say, Jeep Commander. Apparently it's a 2007. Looks like she's been around the block a little bit. It's got like 220 some thousand miles on it. It's here because of a check engine light, so let's see what we have. So it has this push bar on the front. I believe this was involved in an accident when the teenage driver first got it, so maybe that's to mitigate any further damage. It also has a gay pride symbol on the front. I was told what the check engine light was, but let's check it for ourselves. I use this OBD2 connector. I've had pretty good luck with this. It's Bluetooth. And I use the Torque app, which I think is like a $5 app. At least it was. Let's see if it'll connect. So, looks like it has data. So, we have a PO456, which is an evap leak, and we have a PO507, idle control system RPM higher than expected. Now the owners already addressed the PO456. He said they just disconnected the battery to clear it. I'm not sure that really cleared it. But anyway, they did put a new purge valve in, and we'll see that in a second. But there may be something else leaking. While we're here, I'm going to go ahead and clear that. So that cleared everything. Should be good to go. So I suggested to the owner that replacing the purge valve might be the first step at trying to clear that PO456. So looks like he replaced the purge valve, but as I said, I'm not so sure he cleared the fault correctly. So my assumption is that there's a vacuum leak somewhere causing the high idle and that evap code. So I'm going to kind of go around and look for the obvious stuff. Probably pull this, well, I'm assuming this plenum cover will come off here and we can see what kind of vacuum lines, etc. we have. So let's do a little physical inspection first. I didn't film it, but there's a hose clamp on the back and then one over here on the side leading to the air filter. That's what gets that plenum cover off. Let's look around in here for any obvious vacuum leaks. I don't see anything obvious. I thought maybe some of this wire loom goes to the throttle body. Maybe it had been chewed on because the wires were exposed, but then I realized that it just crumbles. It's like crumbled all over the car. Anyway, I don't see anything obvious now. I'm assuming this is the PCV valve back here. It's kind of loose and greasy looking, and that, I'm not really sure where it goes, but I would assume it goes into the manifold somewhere. That looks a little greasy and oily, and there's some oil and crap back there. So I think what we're going to do is I'll need to plug in I'm assuming that's the inlet air temperature. I need to plug that back into this plenum so we don't set an inadvertent code for that. Then we'll run it and spray around with some carb cleaner and see if we can find a leak anywhere. It does seem to idle kind of high. Maybe it'll settle down here in a second. Or not. So I've got some of O'Reilly's finest here. The idea is you spray around for the potential leak, and you should notice the RPM of the engine increase. Another possibility is just the throttle body's dirty. We're still connected, so let's see if it's setting another fault. Doesn't have any faults. Let's look at real-time information, see if it tells us anything. Showing our idle about 800. Is it just me, or is this thing equipped with maybe the wrong hood struts? Because there's not a whole lot of room to get in there. Kind of makes it a pain. It's like they're too short. Anyway, poked around some more, and I believe our problem, and the internet believes it too, might be the PCV valve, which is right there and is all slimy. It looks like it may actually be cracked, and also on the back, I'll pull it off there, there's a crack in that hose. So I'm going to get in there and try to get that out, and then we'll take a look at it. Otherwise, you're going to see my elbows. I don't know if you can hear that, but the drumming is returned to the neighborhood. So if you think you're going to get that valve out of there with that, you're crazy. We had to go find a 34 millimeter socket. My son went to AutoZone and got one, so I'm thinking we can get in there with that and get it out of there. There's a hose clamp. It's in our way. It's one of those evil things. And also, when I pulled that off, if I didn't show this already, that elbow pretty much disintegrated. And then this one was cracked over here, and then I broke the tube getting it out. And let me get the rest of the tube out of here. It's just gummy and disintegrating. And the part that's not gummy and disintegrating is rock hard. Make sure this is going to fit. Yes. Now if we can get it on there, there's a wiring harness right in the way. There's a little cable clamp there holding it down. Got that popped off. There we go. It looks kind of loose to me. It's like the two parts. Anyway, they're separated maybe. A little crunchy hose in there. Just based on that sound, that thing's pretty gummed up. New one. They already apply thread sealant. And those are regular old tapered pipe threads, so once it's tight, it's tight. So with it being Sunday and this part being dealer only, we're gonna make some compromises here. PCV valves on this side of the engine, and the elbow points out that way obviously. Where it goes into the intake is over here on this side of the throttle body and points out this way. I got 2 feet of hose at O'Reilly's. This is actual PCV hose, so it should be correct. And it fits on there well enough. But with them pointing the wrong directions, we're gonna have to do some modifying to kind of shorten the path up. I think we'll start by just making a transition off the PCV valve. Now that'll be good and tight. We won't even need any clamps on them. Gave it a little bit of motor oil down in there to assist it. So originally that tube runs underneath the throttle body. Let's see how it's going to work out if I run it over. We'll try running it the correct way also. Anyway, you get the picture. So it's on there. At this end down here, I had to use a hose clamp. It kind of wasn't super tight on there. And then there's a 90-degree elbow ran through the existing hole in the manifold down to another 90 over here, and those are pretty darn tight. So those were the 90s I used, and they were pretty snug too. Let's put this back together and see if it still runs. So we're all back together. There are actually two Torx bolts directly in there, like a T27, T30, something like that, that I think are meant to unbolt this plenum, but they were both jacked up, so I was able to pull it out. It's put back in there as correctly as it can go now. Plug the inlet air temperature sensor back on, and I had unhooked the brake booster just to clear some room. So let's see if it runs and see if the light stays off. She's a little clickety-clackety, but no lights on, so it'll have to be driven for a while to get all the readiness codes set and see if the check engine light comes back on. While we had it, we did a little cosmetic refresh on the headlights and fog lights and the turn signals because they looked horrible. And something else kind of amusing, I went to put my light on this push bar and it didn't stick magnetically. So that thing's aluminum. I wouldn't trust your life to one of them. Let's get this noisy thing out of here and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Wait, there's more. So we drove this vehicle around and it's got a host of other problems, but mainly it needs to get the check engine light to stay off so it can pass inspection. Give it back to the customer. And of course the check engine light came back on, but the high idle code did go away and that has not come back on. So if you have that high idle code, more than likely look for a leak in that area. I think they're still chasing an evap problem. I offered them to bring it back and I hadn't heard from them. So I'm not sure really where they stand on that. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.